You're tired of working day in and day out, trying to find new boomer customers, chasing leads, doing whatever work comes your way, and never getting to earn what you're worth. You do it because you love the work and you're passionate about serving the boomers. We get it. What you need is more of the right boomer customers for your business and more income for you and your family so you can grow your company and help more people in your community. Well, you're in the right place because this is Booming Your Bottom Line.
Hi, and welcome to episode 44 of Booming Your Bottom Line. I'm Mark Hager, and with me is my co-host, Aaron Murphy. Hey, Aaron.
Morning, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing great. Now, listen, today we have a treat for you. This episode is our very first in our series of the Booming Your Bottom Line Owners Chat, where we get to hear the personal story of a small business that is serving the lucrative and rewarding consumer segment we talk about all the time, those baby boomers. And you get to hear it right from the owners themselves. And today we are joined by Todd Brickhouse, owner of Brickhouse Design Group in Massapequa Park, New York. Is that right, Todd?
That's correct, Mark.
All right. Well, since 1982, Brickhouse Design Group has designed and or supervised the construction of accessibility modifications for thousands of satisfied clients. Their firm designs and implements in-home modifications for physically challenged and older people that enable them to lead a more independent life, as well as non-residential modifications to make buildings, businesses, and public space more accessible for those that need it. So, Todd, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Mark.
Oh, yeah.
Morning, Aaron. How are you?
Hey, good morning to you. Thanks so much for taking the time. I know we're all busy business owners, but I really appreciate you being here. And again, great to hear your voice. We really appreciate that you're doing what you're doing out in the world. And what we want to do today for our listeners that tune in every week here at BYBL is to have you tell us your story, the story of your business. We want you to share some insights and some background so other small business owners across the U.S. that are serving boomers can be inspired, learn from you and all of us as we chat here today, and so they can be encouraged in their pursuit of that small business dream to help boomers and their families in the years ahead. So, Todd, if you're ready, let's just dive in with my first question. Can you describe your small business just for the folks that are here today? What are your main services or products?
Well, Aaron, the product line that we produce for our clients are accessible design drawings and architectural drawings. Our main focus are people with disabilities, children with disabilities, and we do a lot of design work for these folks so they can understand what their needs are, and we help develop designs and products for them so they can live independently in their homes, either by themselves or with their families. That's the primary business, but we also try to market to a variety of people on a continuous basis, so we keep our name out there always, because it's very easy, even if you're doing a wonderful job, if you're not out there in front of the public all the time with your name, people forget, who you are, or just don't know who you are because it's a very big marketplace.
Oh, that's absolutely true. Absolutely true. So where did this idea come from? What inspired you to get into this, and how long have you been in business for yourself?
Well, Mark, back in 1982, I met with a gentleman who had a medical supply store. And this is not going to happen to everybody. Yeah. But at the time he had his medical supply store, there was only about 6-7 people working in his store. And he had just purchased a little Cape Cod house next to his business. And he wanted to be able to show more like activities for daily living products, smaller items that would be geared to a different marketplace than just people who needed walkers or wheelchairs. And when I met him, we discussed maybe doing something more. We made this model home, the house to be opened up a showcase 6-7 months after it. And that taught us how to do accessibility, because actually I started touring people through and taking people through and explaining all the different products and the ideas. And about a year into it, everybody loved it, but they couldn't find contractors to do the work. And this is now 1983. Go ahead.
So 1982, 83. I mean, you're speaking our language, but that was a long time ago. How do we get from there to today?
Well, that's a good point. So in 1989, I wound up opening up Brickhouse Design Group, and went off on my own at that time and set up a company to do accessible design. But I wanted to do a little bit more than I was doing there, and they were kind of phasing out the construction and design end of the company. So I set up my own company called Hadley Brickhouse at the time, and we wound up in setting up a construction company, design company. We did everything that we were doing at that point, but now I had set up my own business, and we wound up doing quite a bit of work. And for about 10 years, we were very active doing home renovation design for a variety of the marketplace, and we would supply elevators, lifts, do renovations for bathrooms, accessibility, and we did a lot of shows. We kind of were on the cusp of the 1993 with the signing of the ADA with Bush and trying to really capture that market. And we took off with that market to really, teach people about accessibility. And we were hired as educators. We lectured around the country on it, and also did the renovations. And then about 2001, 2002, we just kind of had a different thinking and philosophy on things, and I went back on my own completely and just started doing what I'm doing on my own, which is similar, but I got out of the construction aspect. I supervise construction for clients, but mostly we're not contractors. We just do architecture and design.
You're on the design and the permit.
Yeah, that's more what my forte is. There are a lot of nowadays there are a lot of builders who can do this work. There are courses that you can get, so you can actually become certified and understand the needs of disabled. And as that became more apparent in the late 90s, and people were getting certifications, we realized that wasn't really what we wanted to do, and I wanted to be more on the end of the design end, because that's much more creative for me.
Yeah. Well, Todd, I can appreciate, except for Louis Tenenbaum, I mean, you clearly are one of the pioneers at a national level, and we're well ahead of the curve, and I appreciate that you're still around and you're still doing this. So with that said, aside from longevity, for our listeners, and how are you different in a succinct way? What's your unique sales position? How do you set yourself apart from your competition? I think that's something people want to understand.
That's a tough question. That's a tough question. As I gotten older and more on the design end, it's a lot more competition. And look, I'm in a very large market. New York area is a big market. And there are a lot of people willing to go with this, and some of the unique aspects is there's the marketing. I've always had a niche for that. I've always been good at it. So what we did is we started putting out newsletters. Actually, this is going to be almost our 4th year, and we put out an interesting newsletter every month and send it out regionally, which is a big area. Regionally, we're talking Connecticut, New Jersey, New York, and even some parts of Pennsylvania. And so we get that out to about 800 people every month. And that are people who are builders, who are architects, who are caregivers, who are rehab people, and who are hospitals. So we send it out to a select market of people that are in our field and could give us referrals, which is what you're looking to do. So that's a big part of it.
Right. Okay.
I'm sorry, Mark. Yes.
So that's excellent. That's just the kind of stuff that I know our listeners want to hear about and understand, because that's a big deal for local business owners, being able to come up with those things that differentiate them, but also the things that get them in front of more people. And I think that's some really good examples. What are you doing differently to help you reach and connect with more of these target consumers? Okay, and we're specifically looking for something that maybe not everybody's going to be doing.
Right.
Well, look, besides the newsletter, we do put a magazine out. I started to discuss that with you before. Now it's going on its 3rd year. Now, that's not something everybody's going to do. It's a passion of mine. But, name recognition, doing this over 30 years, so my name's out there. So I have that advantage. Knowing the marketplace, understanding what needs are, still going to shows. There's a show coming up like the Abilities Show. That's all over the country. When we first started doing the Abilities Show in New Jersey, they were the only place. Now they're around the country in Chicago, California, doing local shows, meeting local people at these community groups, stroke groups, groups for the Multiple Sclerosis Society. If you have something to say or if you want to educate, and I'm an educator at heart, that's what I am. I like to teach people and make them aware of what could be done, and that helps people understand that you have something to offer, and you're not looking just for the bottom dollar. Look, I'm looking for dollars too. You can't live in society in this country without making money.
Oh, absolutely.
And I like working in that aspect, but you have to be willing to give of your time. And we like to do that, and we go out to local groups still. I mean, I started doing this in the 80s, and I still go out to local support groups and meet with 10 people, 15 people, and educate them and try to talk with them. I was about a year ago, I was at a group of occupational therapists. A doctor I know, Dr. Ciani, she invited me to her third-year class who were doing occupational therapy. And I went to the university and I lectured to them, and I made catalogs. In my office, we actually put catalogs together on products and designs, and then I did a slide presentation that basically to educate them what accessibility means in the home. I mean, just because they're going to be occupational therapists, they don't really know the market. I mean, they understand their patients, but they don't understand what design is about.
Right,
so I still do this.
I want to ask you a question, and
Sure.
Aaron, I know you got another one you want to ask, and this is leading to prove a point. The education that you've done over the years, okay, and that you're still doing,
Right.
do you think that it's had an impact on your business that's come in and your income?
Absolutely. I mean, there's no question about it. Yes. I mean, this is something anybody can do.
Right.
I mean, you don't have to be a great auditor or somebody who can speak about the stuff. If you're a builder and you've been doing this work and you understand it, you probably know 80% more than the persons you're going to speak with if they're the home end user, the consumer. So many times I go into homes still, and the person I'm going to be there who is paying me to be there are telling me what they want, but they're telling me how to do it and what they expect. And I have to sometimes, I just shut up for a while, which is tough for me. But I do hold my tongue and I listen to everything they want to tell me, and then I try to interpret it and turn it to their understanding that this might not be the best solution, or this might, and I give the rationale. So because they know that they have issues and they have problems, but they don't know really how to resolve them.
Right.
Just because you have a disability doesn't mean you understand what your needs are in a physical world. You have a wheelchair maybe. You might be using a quad cane or a walker, but it doesn't really mean you understand that, you can't get through a doorway with a walker because it's a pyramid design and you might not be able to get it through that doorway. Or what an offset hinge is. Maybe that 1 3/4 inch width of the door with an offset hinge, you can now get through the door and you're only spending $25 as opposed to changing your whole doorway.
Yeah.
So it's not always expensive to do renovations, but you can do things and make their life better.
Yeah. Well, Todd, let's stick for a second on just the educational piece. And
Sure.
Obviously, that's exactly what we teach as a part of our, what you should be doing. Marketing, whether it's authoring, blogging, guest articles. I've been in your magazine, even though we've never shaken hands, right? So technology is a powerful thing. And just networking through education. And like you said, I appreciate what you said, that you'll still go to a room of 10 people because you don't know which one might need you or know someone that needs you. And even after 35 years, 33 years, you're still doing this, and that's brilliant. So, and I'd argue that might be the biggest thing that sets you apart. And thank you for saying that there's an ROI in that, because we know it. But, preaching to the choir, it's nice to hear it from the field as well. So can you give us a quick, you started talking about some bathroom stuff and door hinges and things that we know about, but maybe the listener doesn't. Can you give us a success story? Don't use client names, but something where your company or service just made a brilliant difference in someone's life and happiness and health and longevity at home.
Sure. Well, I mean, one of them that comes to mind, there are many. I mean, you're changing the quality of people's lives. And we've been fortunate enough to do it with really thousands of different people. So, I mean, it's kind of fun to try to think about ones. I mean, the one recently there was a gentleman, he was 66, he's in a power chair, he had a stroke, and his family is trying to get some renovations done to his condominium, and he's in New York City on the 19th floor of a building. And it's his condo, he owns it, but he doesn't have the money to renovate. So he got his insurance company to commit to renovations and pay for a bathroom accessible design. But there was a lot of paperwork and a lot of kind of trust between us to have to meet with them, get them to understand that this will save them time. And so they did, their bean counters did the determination that he's healthy enough that he'll probably live another 15 years. That's what they're saying. I didn't say that. Hope he lives 100. Well, maybe not 100. But they said to him that, it's going to cost the insurance company, if we put you into institutional housing, about $1,500,000 over the next 15 years to keep him in that facility and keep him healthy. And after he showered for the first time in a year and a half, because now this guy couldn't get into his bathroom. So after a year and a half of being in a stroke and living basically being washed every day by hand, he was able to take his first shower. He called me in tears, thanking us for pursuing this. Those are the reasons I do this. I mean, that's great stuff. And the guy, he's able to live a better and normal life. I mean, you want to be able to shower in the morning. What's the big deal? So that was a success story because we got it done. And the insurance company kept saying, we'll never do this again. But I think more and more of them are going to, when they start to understand that the numbers are with them. Now they don't have to institutionalize this guy.
Well, that's the thing.
Right.
And, I mean, that's an awesome story because I know that changed that guy's life.
Absolutely.
But no matter what the insurance company tells you, they're eventually going to do that a lot more because $58,000 is better than $1.5 million any day.
Thank you.
That's right. It's a big difference.
So that's phenomenal.
It can make it, and they could do this for hundreds of people and save themselves millions. But, can I say something quickly?
Yeah.
We tried to do this in 1992 with insurance companies. We actually hired people to help put the stats together on this because I had met a young girl with MS, and we renovated her house and did all this work, and we were trying to show that if they had paid for this, that it would have helped resolve a lot of their financial issues, the insurance company, and that, say for a mortgage company, when you buy a house, this girl bought a house with her husband, and within the first 2 years, she wound up being come down with MS, and she wound up being in a wheelchair within the first year. And she was in her late 20s, early 30s. She was a young kid. And so we tried to work it out where mortgage companies, when you buy a house, you would buy insurance. You would buy $50,000 worth of insurance, and say it would. At that time, we realized it would cost about another $20 a month on their policy, for $50,000, and that money would be held in abeyance if, God forbid, something like this happened. Where you came disabled, you had a stroke, or you had an issue, a health issue, and you could use that money to renovate your house so you could stay there. And we did morbidity studies, and we paid for it privately at Hager Brickhouse. And they told us we were nuts. They never would do that. They would never pay for that. Meanwhile, here, like 20 years later, it's still issue. It's a still issue. You can't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, and why is not available? Why is that kind of funding available?
So, what's on the horizon for you guys in the future? I mean, you have any new products that you're going to start marketing, or services, or improvements?
We try. Well, it's a good point. It's more business now where we're working day to day. As I started to say earlier, about 70% of our clients are children with disabilities. We do have private clientele still, but a lot of the work we do is we do work with the state, and we do design work for different agencies from the state to allow kids to stay in their homes so they don't have to be institutionalized. I mean, the big product line for us might be different than other people. I started to say we have a magazine called Designs for Living, and that's giving us a bigger market internationally, which is what I'm looking for. And we do consult in different parts of the country. We do consult internationally with some companies. And the magazine, what the magazine does is we educate people through the magazine, and we do stories on people from around the world. We had a young gentleman called James Price, who was a chef and became disabled, and he was originally out of India, living in Dubai, and he basically educated us to all the different places that are becoming accessible in these big, very modern hotels that he goes to and travels around the world for, and he set up his own company doing this. And we talk about people who are artists, who are seniors, who basically in their 80s, they're still welding and doing paintings. And so we try to show people from around the world that, no matter what your age and no matter what your disability, you can do something that allows you the freedom to exhibit what your capabilities are. And but locally, we're basically still working with groups, still trying to educate people about accessibility and teach people about it, and working with a lot of different vendors to try to educate them to better product lines. So originally there were only stainless steel grab bars. We actually built our own grab bars and started making them back and getting approved by testing laboratories and making them in colors. And now that's very common.
Cool.
So it's a little bit different for us, but the local contractor, there's a lot of things that local contractors can do to go outside themselves to educate people and give them more recognition. And but they have to understand how to do it. It's not always easy. I was lucky enough to have people to back me financially and gave me the opportunity to do it. When you're a guy working for a living, you've worked all day, now to set aside Saturday or Sunday to go out there and lecture to a group in, 10 people, it's tough. It's tough. Yeah. But it's necessary if you want to build your business and keep that market flowing.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that, Todd. And just kudos to you. I mean, my gosh, you've been forward thinking. I mean, here you were in 92 trying to integrate long-term care insurance into a mortgage, right? I mean, you had a crystal ball, and I wish more people were listening to those of us that can see what's coming and have for a while. Well, I think our last question for you is just about giving back and paying it forward, because we believe that small business is the key to not only wealth growth and employment growth, but just community solidity as a whole. So give us one quick example. I know we're short on time, of how you pay it forward, how you give it back. I mean, at one level, educating is that, but give me another one.
We do a lot of pro bono work. We work with Veterans Administration. We work with different individuals to try to design things for them. Because the soldiers coming back, I mean, these folks are coming back with severe disabilities. So we do a lot of marketing about them and educating people about their needs. And we're learning from these folks. I mean, before I got in this field, I was a prosthetist orthotist. I made artificial limbs before I got into this field. And now, if you saw what was being built, I learned on wood legs. Now you see these guys and girls coming back, and they're building these legs, and they're lattice work out of steel, and they're magnificent artworks, and they're wearing them proudly, and they should. But we still, to pass it forward, we try to educate people through what we do with the newsletter. We try to educate people through the magazine and teach people about the field. I met with a builder yesterday at a lunch. We went out and he wanted to know more about how he could develop his business. So I'm still meeting with people, trying to teach them what I think they could do. Whether they do it or not is up to them, but trying to show them a direction that I see. And if they like it and maybe they get something going out of it, maybe they'll stay with it, and not just do, contemporary construction.
Okay. All right. Actually, I have one final question for you.
Sure.
What is the one piece of advice that you would give to someone wanting to start or grow their business right now? A business that would include boomers or their families and caregivers. What's one piece of advice you'd give them?
Join organizations that have to do with that area. There's a variety of them out there who have to do with, you have the different organizations like, what's it called? Gerontological Society of New York. Local groups that have to do with marketing to these individuals. There's so many of them. I can't even place them. But get involved with these groups and offer their services. A lot of them, unfortunately, are just financial advisors because it's mostly to senior market people and they have, expendable incomes. But get involved as a contractor or an architect or as a builder and offer your services through these organizations. But commit to taking the time, going out there. It's grassroots. It's like going for an election. You got to go out there and make people, known who you are, and put out a newsletter. I mean, Constant Contacts is a simple way to do it. You can go on there. They have a template, and then just start sending it out to people and so people remember who you are. But you got to get out there. You got to be out there taking the time to educate people because there's a much bigger world than just your business, including mine.
Yeah.
Good advice. Really great advice. Boy, and I'm sure, Mark and I learned something here today too, Todd, and that's, we've been doing it a long time, and I appreciate, I appreciate what we're all doing.
Right.
So thank you for taking the time. I know that
got a wonderful service. I've learned a lot more about you guys today, and I look forward to working with you more in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And Todd, real quick before we let you go, Mark and I will wrap up the rest of it, but just toss out your website and tell people how to find you.
Sure. It's Brickhouse Designs Group. Well, it's brickhousedesigns.net. Brickhouse, my last name, designs.net. You'll learn a lot about different things, about our company, about things you could just educate yourself on. And from that, give us a call if you have any questions anytime.
Awesome. Well, you're a heck of a mentor and exactly the kind of person we wanted to have a conversation with. So thanks for being our first, and have an awesome day.
You too. Enjoy. Bye-bye now.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mark.
Well, that was pretty awesome. And we'll do this again soon in another upcoming episode of the BYBL Owners Chat. So stay tuned for that.
Absolutely. Hey, all, just a quick reminder, that brand new free training we've got coming up on building your professional network. It's called Profitable Professional Networking for Your Boomer Service Business. In it, we're covering what the benefits are, tips to finding the right people to work with, how to maximize the revenue that it generates working together, and much more. So right now, go ahead and go to bybellive.com/pro network. Because in just 2 days, that's coming up, October 22nd. So if you haven't signed up, go do that now. There's a few spots left. We're going to have to close it if it fills. Like to see you there, okay? We want you to be somebody that is attending this as a business owner because we want it to be you, not your competitor, okay? I'm being honest. This can have such a far-reaching implication for your company and your income if you implement these teachings. We just want you guys to do this before anybody else gets it right. So bybellive.com/pro network to sign up for that free training.
Okay, folks. Well, I hope you enjoyed this first episode of Owners Chat and are leaving a little bit more inspired today. I know that Aaron and I both are. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, be well, be bold.